Older women come to me all the time with the same fear in their eyes. Dr. Lisa, why does the man I love feel like he's slipping away? He's right here, but it's like I can't reach him anymore. And if you have ever felt that, listen closely to what I'm about to say, because this truth will shake you. Most women think older men pull away because they lose interest, lose passion, or lose the spark. But that is not what's happening at all. Men over 60 are not disconnecting because they love less. They are disconnecting because they are starving for a kind of emotional nourishment they never learned to ask for. Needs so deep, so raw, so rarely understood that most marriages break long before anyone even names them. Here is the part that surprises most women. Older men are not shutting down. They are shutting in. They are holding in fear they can't describe, loneliness they can't admit, pressure they can't escape. And the heartbreaking thing is this: they don't withdraw because you failed. They withdraw because they're terrified of failing you. The truth is, older men need a kind of love completely different from the one they show in their younger years. They don't want candlelight dinners or romantic gestures. They want refuge. They want peace. They want to feel like they can exhale in your presence after spending 40, 50, or 60 years holding everything together for everyone else. I'm Dr. Lisa Perriera, a board-certified gynecologist with over 30 years of experience working with women all across the United States. And after countless conversations with both husbands and wives, I can tell you something most relationship books never teach. A man's emotional world does not harden with age. It becomes more fragile, more sensitive, more easily wounded. And the older he gets, the more he hides that truth behind silence. I once had a man in his early 70s sit across from me with tears gathering in his eyes. He said, "I don't pull away because I don't love her. I pull away because I don't want her to see me fall apart." That moment changed the way I talk to every woman who walks into my office. If you have ever wondered why your partner seems quiet, distant, or emotionally unavailable, stay with me. Because over the next few minutes, I'm going to reveal the 5 emotional needs older men crave desperately yet rarely speak about. Needs that determine whether a man opens up or shuts down. Needs that decide whether he becomes warm and connected or cold and unreachable. Needs that can transform your relationship at any age when you finally understand them. And let me warn you gently. Once you hear these truths, you won't be able to unsee them. You will recognize them in your partner's eyes, in his tone, in the way he breathes when he comes home at the end of the day. And you may finally understand why he has been trying to love you from behind his silence. Before we dive in, take a moment to breathe. Let your shoulders relax. Because what we are about to explore will not only help you understand the man beside you, it may help you reconnect in ways you haven't felt in years. And if you're watching from anywhere across the United States, Canada, the UK, or Australia, let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from. Women from all over the world come here every week for real, honest conversations about love, aging, and emotional connection. Now stay with me, because the first emotional need I'm about to reveal is the foundation for everything. When a man feels this from a woman, he opens. And when it's missing, he becomes unreachable. It is the quiet need men carry their entire lives, but finally break under after 60. Let's uncover that next. Here is the need older men almost never speak about, but it shapes every part of their connection. Emotional safety, not comfort, not agreement, not encouragement. Emotional safety. A place where a man can finally let down the armor he has carried for a lifetime. Most older men grew up in a world where emotional expression was dangerous. They were told to toughen up, stay strong, never cry, never ask for help. They were taught that their value came from holding it together, not falling apart. So by the time a man reaches 60 or 70, he has spent decades learning how to hide everything that hurts him. Not because he doesn't feel, but because he feels so much that he doesn't know what to do with it. I once asked a 68-year-old patient why he never told his wife he was struggling with fear about aging. His answer says everything. He whispered, "If I say I'm scared, she'll think I'm weak, and I can't handle that." This is the secret burden many older men carry. They are not afraid of vulnerability itself. They are afraid of how they will be seen after they show it. So what does emotional safety look like for an older man? It is the ability to show uncertainty without being interrogated, to share sadness without being corrected, to admit fear without being told to stay positive. Men don't shut down because they don't trust their partner. They shut down because they don't trust themselves to survive the feeling of being exposed. Women often respond from a place of love. They ask questions, they analyze, they try to help. But when a man finally cracks open and those questions hit him too quickly, it feels like pressure. It feels like he is being asked to defend emotions he barely understands. For an older man, emotional safety is created through gentleness, not urgency, presence, not problem-solving, soft eyes, not rapid reactions. There was a couple from Ohio who came to see me after the husband had grown withdrawn for almost a year. The wife kept saying, "I keep asking him what's wrong, and he just shuts down." When I met with him privately, he said something quietly heartbreaking. "I need time to figure out what I feel, but she wants me to explain it before I'm ready." That's the conflict almost every aging couple faces. Women process by connecting. Men process by retreating. And because their emotional rhythms are different, misunderstanding grows. But when a woman creates emotional safety, something remarkable happens to a man's nervous system. His breathing slows. His shoulders drop. The tightness around his jaw softens. You'll see it physically. You'll hear it in the slower pace of his words. He starts talking because he feels no pressure to talk. He starts sharing because he doesn't fear being judged. He begins to return to the relationship from the inside. And here's the part most women don't realize. When emotional safety is present, a man needs far less silence. He needs far less isolation. His quiet times shorten because his fear shortens. He trusts that he can re-enter connection without feeling exposed or misunderstood. But when emotional safety is missing, silence becomes his only shelter. He retreats deeper. He stays quiet longer. He builds walls higher. Not to punish her, but to protect himself. When I teach women about this, I always emphasize one thing. You do not have to fix him. You do not have to pull the truth out of him. You do not have to anticipate every emotion he hides. You only have to create the space where he feels safe enough to take off the armor himself. And once emotional safety exists, a second need rises immediately, a need that most women misinterpret, a need that causes confusion in nearly every long-term relationship, a need that determines whether a man comes closer or pulls away quietly. This second need is the one women fear the most, yet misunderstand the most. And it is the key to understanding the emotional world of older men. We will explore that next. The second emotional need older men carry is one that almost every woman misreads. Space, not distance, not rejection, not lack of love. Space. Quiet time where a man steps back into himself to rebalance, process, and restore. Women often fear this deeply, because for many women, closeness is connection. Talking is connection. Sharing is connection. But for older men, silence is often how they find their center again. It is how they sort emotions they do not yet have words for. It is how they rebuild the sense of control that aging quietly erodes. I once worked with a couple from Colorado, married nearly 40 years. the wife told me. When he goes quiet, my heart drops. I think something is wrong. I think he's slipping away from me. But when I spoke with her husband privately, he said, "When I go quiet, I'm trying to find myself again. I just need a moment to breathe without feeling like I have to explain everything." That contrast captures the emotional misunderstanding so many couples live through. Women feel connection through conversation. Men feel clarity through solitude. So when a man pulls back to think, a woman leans forward to understand. And suddenly, both feel threatened by the other's instinctive response. She thinks he is hiding something. He thinks she is demanding something he cannot give yet. She worries the relationship is in danger. He worries he will disappoint her with an unfinished thought or unprocessed emotion. What most women don't realize is this. For a man over 60, space is not escape. It is maintenance. Life begins to feel heavier with age. Thoughts take longer to sort. Worries about health, purpose, identity, and mortality sit deeper in the heart. And a man needs intervals of stillness to untangle that emotional weight. The problem is not that men need space. The problem is that women often interpret it as a sign of emotional withdrawal. But here is the truth. Many women tell me they wish they had understood decades earlier. A man who is withdrawing from the relationship becomes colder, sharper, dismissive. A man who is restoring himself becomes quiet, but gentle. He returns with softer eyes, steadier presence, and a more grounded tone. Space given out of fear drives a man further. Space given out of trust brings him back closer. I tell women this often. The question isn't, why does he need time alone? The real question is, what does he return to when he's done using it? When a man knows that his quiet time won't be punished, questioned, or interpreted as rejection, he takes far less of it. He doesn't hide in it. He simply uses it the way the body uses a deep breath before speaking. A woman once asked me, how do I support him without disappearing myself? And my answer was simple. You support him not by stepping away emotionally, but by stepping back in energy. You stay present, you stay warm, you stay steady. You don't push, and you don't panic. You simply stop pulling on him. Older men come back faster when women stop chasing and start trusting. Because space to an older man is not about needing distance from her. It is about needing distance from the pressure he feels inside himself. When a woman takes his space personally, the pressure doubles. When she honors it, the pressure dissolves. And something remarkable happens. He returns on his own. He re-engages. He speaks more openly. He seeks closeness again because it no longer feels like a test he might fail. But this second need leads directly into the third. Because what a man comes back to determines whether he opens emotionally or shuts down all over again. And this third need is the one that hits older men hardest. It is the need that shapes their identity, their confidence, and their sense of being valued. In the next part, we step into the emotional need older men rarely say out loud, yet carry in every breath. When a man returns from moments of quiet, one question sits heavily on his heart. Am I still valued here? And this leads us into the third emotional need older men rarely put into words, but feel in their bones. Respect. Not in the old-fashioned sense of authority or dominance, but in the deeply human sense of being seen as capable, worthy, and still chosen. By the time a man reaches his 60s or 70s, the world has already begun taking pieces of him away. His physical strength changes. His memory shifts. His work identity fades. The roles he spent decades mastering no longer define him the same way. And this creates a quiet fear inside many older men, the fear of becoming irrelevant. One man, 74, said to me in my office, "Getting older didn't scare me. Feeling unimportant did." That sentence has echoed in my mind for years, because this is what so many older men feel but never admit. Respect for an older man is not about praise or being right. It is about being treated like he still matters, like his opinions matter, his efforts matter, his presence matters. I once met a couple from Tennessee who had been married nearly 5 decades. The wife was loving, caring, incredibly loyal, but the husband became increasingly withdrawn. When she expressed frustration, she told me he doesn't participate anymore. He sits quietly. He barely speaks. I feel like I'm doing all the emotional work. But when I spoke with him alone, a different truth emerged. He looked down at his hands and said, "I feel corrected all the time. I feel like she thinks I'm fading, and maybe I am. But I don't want to feel like a burden." He wasn't angry. He was hurting. Small moments that seem harmless to a woman can land heavily on a man who is already struggling with the losses of aging. A quick correction of his memory. A sigh when he takes longer to respond. A sharper tone when he misunderstands a question. These things accumulate inside him as confirmation of his deepest fear that he is slipping from being a partner into being a problem. But I want to make something very clear. Women do not do this out of malice. They do it because they are trying to help to keep things running smoothly, to fill the gaps aging naturally creates. But to an older man, it feels like erosion. Not of his ability, but of his dignity. Respect for him sounds like this: "I appreciate your help with that. I trust your judgment. Take your time. I'm listening. What do you think? I'm glad you're here." These simple phrases have the power to lift a man's entire spirit. They remind him that he is still a contributor, not an extra. Still a partner, not a passenger. Still a man, not a memory. And then there is the second layer of this need: feeling chosen. Older men quietly fear being replaced emotionally, not by another person, but by distance, by disinterest, by a sense that they're no longer the one a woman turns to. When a woman reaches for his hand, first asks for his thoughts, or sits close to him on the couch without words, it signals something deeper than romance. It says, "I still pick you." And for a man who has spent a lifetime providing, protecting, and pushing through hardship, that feeling is everything. Respect anchors him. Feeling chosen awakens him. When a man feels both of these from a woman, he grows. He engages more. He becomes more affectionate, more attentive, more willing to show his inner world. But without them, he slowly fades into the edges of the relationship, not because he wants to disappear, but because he no longer knows where he fits. And this leads directly into the fourth emotional need older men have. A need that affects not only their confidence, but their sense of being alive in the relationship. A need that quietly shapes the emotional temperature of every long-term partnership. We will explore that next. Once a man feels respected and chosen, something powerful begins to shift inside him. But whether he stays emotionally open depends on two final needs. Needs so quiet, so often overlooked, that many women don't realize how deeply they affect a man's heart. The fourth need is appreciation and being seen. Older men carry a specific kind of loneliness, not loneliness from being without people, but from feeling invisible around the very people they love. It happens slowly, quietly. A man spends decades showing up for others. He fixes things. He protects his family. He sacrifices time, energy, money, dreams. And he rarely asks for credit. But inside, he hopes someone notices. By the time he reaches 60 or 70, life becomes quieter. Responsibilities shift. Children grow. The home settles. And suddenly he wonders, does anything I do still matter? He won't say it out loud. He won't ask for praise. But he feels the weight of being unseen. I once spoke with a man from Virginia, 71 years old, who said, "I know she loves me, I just don't know if she still sees me. That sentence captures the silent ache of countless older men. Appreciation for him is not about big gestures. It is about small acknowledgements. A gentle thank you for taking out the trash. Appreciation for making the coffee. Noticing when he opens the door for you. A simple, "I'm grateful for you." These moments restore him. They bring life back into his eyes. They tell him he is still valued in a world that often makes older men feel disposable. Appreciation doesn't inflate a man's ego. It stabilizes his identity. And that brings us to the fifth emotional need of older men, one that shapes their confidence, their sense of masculinity, and their ability to stay emotionally connected. Physical affection without pressure. Most people assume older men always want sexual performance, but when a man reaches his 60s or 70s, the story changes. His body responds differently. Hormones shift. Health concerns weigh on him. And suddenly, intimacy becomes the most vulnerable part of his life. Many older men secretly fear failing the woman they love, not because they lack desire, but because they fear disappointing her. I've had men look at the floor embarrassed, saying, "If I can't perform the way I used to, I feel like less of a man." That pain is real. It is heavy. And it makes many men avoid intimacy altogether. But here is what most women don't realize. What older men crave most is not performance. It is connection. They want a soft hand on their chest, a warm hug from behind, a gentle touch on the arm, sitting with legs touching on the couch, holding hands in the grocery aisle. These simple gestures reach them in a way words never could. When physical affection comes without expectation, without pressure, without judgment, a man's fear melts. His confidence returns. His desire awakens naturally, organically, beautifully. Touch becomes reassurance, not a test. And now we arrive at the truth that ties all five needs together. The truth most men never say aloud. Older men do not want romance. They want peace. Not silence, not distance. Peace. A kind of emotional exhale they cannot find anywhere else in the world. A place where they are accepted, not evaluated. Seen, not overlooked. Respected, not corrected. Touched, not tested. Peace is not the absence of problems. Peace is the presence of love without pressure. When a woman becomes that peace, a man transforms. He becomes more affectionate, more present, more expressive. He listens more. He gives more. He shows up with his whole heart. Not because he is trying to win anything, but because he finally feels safe enough to be fully himself. Older men don't pull away because love disappears. They pull away because peace disappears. When peace returns, so do they. And if you understand these five needs, if you apply them gently and consistently, you will see something extraordinary. The man beside you will soften. He will reconnect. He will return to you not out of obligation, but out of devotion. This is the love older men crave. This is the love they rarely ask for. And this is the love that changes everything. And before we close, let me remind you, this video is for educational purposes only. It does not replace medical advice. Every woman's body is unique. If you are experiencing pain, significant changes, or have personal concerns, please consult with your healthcare provider. Your well-being deserves personalized care.